Have you been arrested or are potentially facing criminal charges? You need a trial attorney who is well-versed in the courtroom. Joe Flores has handled hundreds of criminal cases and many of them to trial. Joe Flores can provide you with competent representation to protect your constitutional rights in state and federal court. Joe Flores can help if you have been arrested or facing criminal charges. The law offices of Joe Flores. Equal justice for all.
And we're back after a brief break. Attorney Joe Flores reminding you to join us each and every week right here on KTMB, the might of KTMB. It's a full contact sport, your only political station right here in South Texas, right in between ABC and NBC on Time Warner. Bienvenido a nuestra raza también. Les habla Joe Flores, el abogado del pueblo. And with me today, again, joining us is Homero Villarreal from Robstown, Texas, hailing from their El Defensor magazine. Visit him on eldefensor.blogspot.com. Welcome. Again.
Hey, always an honor, Joe, to be here.
All right, we were letting the fur fly a little bit, if you will, and we were talking about now the Republican, and I'm not picking on it, it's just the power of the day. If Democrats didn't like it, they should have come out and voted. And in droves. And now they're seeing the results of the Republicans nowadays are neocons. This was not like Theodore Roosevelt, where they said, let's help the social programs a little bit at least. Now it's like, no, let's cut off the spigot, and everybody crossing the border, we should target, let's forget about the employer who hires them, that we're losing jobs, and outsourcing. Okay, so we're back on all this. Let's talk about the power structure and how it's changed in the last year or two.
Well, like you said, if we look at Lloyd Neal, with to zoom in with that lens, says what type of Republican does he represent? Well, there's the talk, but there's not the walk, and vice versa.
He was a Democrat.
That's
why a lot of Democrats like him.
But he's a big government type of Republican. He's working with certain parties in Corpus Christi. There's a power structure in Corpus Christi, ladies and gentlemen. You have your regular city council, then you have a power structure that dates back all the way back to the days of Hayden Head Sr.
A master politician.
Master politician that created, and his goal was to bring business and politics and big growth, sort of a small trilateral commission. But to this day, they pretty much followed his mold, but they brought it to a ridiculous level, where here you have an organization in Corpus Christi funded by the city, funded by the port.
With no oversight.
With no oversight, and it's called the Corpus Christi Area Development Corporation. And if they were to destroy it someday, they would just regroup it and call it something else.
And you're
but
more
right
than
now
welcome
it's
to
called
come on.
the Economic Development Corporation.
And more than welcome to come on and talk about it open and transparent.
The city gives them all this money, the county, the port, and so on, and all these little towns. They fall for their think big agenda, and it's really about the people that are inside. They make you sign a confidentiality agreement.
Anybody who comes in to do business, right?
And what happens is the corporation eventually only does job with a group that orbits their world, which is, the Scots, the people that create marketing groups. And so eventually, by the time they get to the people, all the money from these corporations and the city and everything else is gone. So you're talking about a club, so to speak, a very exclusive club that claims to be conservative, but I think I hear the Tea Party, making all this noise about big government and so on.
And I like local members. I like local members of the Tea Party. Very good people.
And here's an issue. We have a big government type of agenda, and now they control. They're running people for the school. They're running people for the Board of Regents and like Del Mar, the RTA. They're penetrating every institution. Now they've joined even with the Republican Party, and they're using it as a vehicle also to achieve certain things that they want. We see the Salomonistas out of the way. There's no new party and no new challenger. So there's this complete monopoly where you even see public property along the beach being donated to organizations that are controlled by American Bank.
It's ridiculous. And
and,
Salomon, everybody was down on him, but let me tell you, he kept a balance. He kept a balance in a way. He was an icon. He had a lot of supporters.
He represented certain people, the people
The poor,
felt
the
they
downtrodden.
And this is what it's all about.
He had compassion, presumably.
You zoom in and you look at your family and you say, who represents my family better? Somebody from...
Somebody who's backed by a corporation or Salomon? I'd go for Salomon if I didn't have, if I wasn't part of a corporation or printing out money.
A Commissioner Gonzalez, a commissioner that's sincere.
Joey Gonzalez, 24/7.
Let me tell you, what is grassroots? Grassroots is when the community, con sudor y trabajo, blood, sweat, and tear, work for a cause, and eventually they see it pay off. They use their own resources. And creative imagination. Everybody comes together, and it's sort of a creative process that makes things. It's not something that's money's being channeled from New York or Washington or lobbyists, or it's a genuine movement.
We have to have it come from the people, from our very heart, from our families, from our neighborhoods.
I see too much astroturfing. I see that, and that's what upsets me. I'm a commentator. I won't submit to any group, because the first defense is mi familia, mi comunidad. I feel a sense of a larger cause.
And I want to bring that up, and Carlos has brought that up from our station too. Why is it that if it was Homer Smith instead of Homer Villarreal, and you have a paper and you get Republican sponsors, you get Democrat sponsors, all of a sudden you're betraying something? Everybody's trying to make a living, and if you sell equal time and you sell equal ads to your paper as you do, you get criticized as a Hispanic if you're not doing it free for the Democratic Party. It's just kind of like my show. If they're not allowed to come on free without any sponsorship, without anything, excuse me that television costs thousands of dollars, but you want to come on and just get their message out there for free. It seems like my own party doesn't want to write a check in order to get elected. They don't want to write a check to get out their message. And it seems like the Republicans do. They're on message. They're getting elected. They're getting their agenda pushed forward because they have what? Thousands of dollars. But corporations are funding that in a large part.
Well, what happens is we live in a free enterprise system, and it's about competition. If somebody doesn't give you business, somebody else does. It's where the market is. Traditionally, when Carlos and his father started the radio station and then the TV station, their whole goal, they were carrying the burden of the poverty of Hispanics that carry poverty in their shoulders for the most part.
And we still do, right?
There's not poverty in other ethnic groups. I'm just saying, as a community, there seems to be a larger chunk being carried by Hispanics. They carried certain issues. Dr. Hector, all the civil rights leaders, used as a voice to communicate to the people how to humanize the institutions around them. But over time, the station has grown because mathematically Hispanics are multiplying in number.
40 million and growing in the United States.
And even in the area, just look at it mathematically. Many people say, well, all the Anglos live in the South Side. That's not true. I mean, that's
go to Weber right now, and I'll show you that there's been an influx. It's 60-40 in some areas.
And the other thing is the interrelationships that are being created.
People are intermarrying.
The old structures, the old institutions are changing. The young people don't seem to care about party anymore. And in Carlos, in his business affair, he's starting to realize through his station that he has to speak for everybody. He has to represent everybody. The community is what's going to keep him alive. Those parties that participate. Joe, if you have let's say you had an Hispanic newspaper and I was Anglo and I would buy from you, or black or whatever, Chinese, I would buy from your newspaper. I'm giving sort of gasoline to your your car to run.
Sponsorship.
And people should be very thankful because they're the economic base that benefits you. That money's going to circulate, and it's going to make your community stronger, and vice versa. So we're starting to see most Hispanics, when they started out, they were in social causes and social issues, a lot of sociology degrees. Now you're starting to see bankers, you're starting to see CPAs, you're starting to see analysts, you're starting to see people play the market, because there's social mobility going on. And as people move up, and many people say, well, we haven't moved up as a community. It's true. The majority of the poverty as a community, Hispanics have not moved up. There's certain Hispanics that have moved up in society, but gradually they're multiplying in numbers. The complexion of society is, and corporations are changing. They know who their new consumers are.
They're targeting Hispanics in marketing programs.
And that's what's happening, that now we're starting to see Hispanics in every conceivable area that you can think of. But the old structures are still there. The old powerhouses are still there, maybe subconsciously. And Hispanics are growing at the same time. They're saying, you know, there's something larger cause beyond it. Everything is, in the end, there's one race, the human race. It's about respecting each other. But, you know, that's where we're at.
Well, closing arguments for Homero Villarreal, publisher of Defensor, about local politics and the power base right now and what Hispanics can do to better their situation in the community. Please.
Well, you know, if you talk about that you don't feel empowered, any group that you don't feel empowered, first of all, you raise your consciousness about your circumstances, but you need to start looking at the world through your eyes, brothers and sisters. Don't look at the world by ideas that somebody else imposed on you. Take quiet time, do research, reflect, meditate, whatever you need to do. Go around, talk to the community, engage in a meaningful dialogue with others, and make your own opinion. This is how you grow. Because let me tell you, when I die and they throw me in that hole and the worms are waiting for me, I want to die with my eyes open. I mean, I know that when I started in this cause, my eyes were closed. I used to be a teacher, and I was, you know, all day in four walls, you know, and I needed to, if I wanted to educate people about the medical system, I needed to reach beyond, you know, if I wanted to change a street or for kids to have a busing in a certain part of area, to understand City Hall. And so being a journalist sort of transformed my life, a higher consciousness, and I transcended those four walls at this period in my life. But let me tell you, it's enriching once you reach that higher consciousness. That's where true freedom is, because you're no longer controlled by these little groups. You don't take them for granted as the normative way to follow. And my goal with El Defensor has always been to produce leaders, critical thinkers, and absolutely not followers. So,
well, I want to thank you for coming on. And ladies and gentlemen, remember out there that we now have a voice through KTMB, Latinos, our own voice. Homero Villarreal, he's got a paper, Hispanic owned. And this is, like he said, there's one race, the human race, with many subcultures. And I want everybody out there to know, get involved. The opinions on this show do not necessarily reflect those of Carlos Lopez and Lopez Broadcasting, but they are our opinions here on South Texas Crossfire. We own them. And get involved. Y recuerde que su voto es su voz. Regístrese a votar, porque ahora, como nunca, necesitamos a gente que vienen a votar. Ladies and gentlemen, get out there and vote. Get involved. Y recuerde, la opinión mía es que el Partido Demócrata no es el partido del pobre, es el partido de justicia social. So again, this is Joe Flores signing off. Thank you again to our sponsors, River City Hospice, Hope, Dignity, and Love. Call today for your very sick or critically ill family member. Call today to see how they can receive hope, dignity, and love in their very own home. And don't forget Vasquez Flores Home Health. If you're interested in a job as a provider, or if you want to try to keep your family member in the home and out of long-term care, call 881-9922. Priscilla Vasquez, backed by over 20 years of experience as an RN, can help. Again, to our special guest, Homero Villarreal, and also a big shout out to Commissioner Joey Gonzalez, your commissioner 24/7, for coming on the show. We've run out of time. Dave's going like this to me. Thank you. God bless.